across the globe. All right. And yeah, um, can I go ahead?
Yes, please. The floor is yours.
Oh, okay. All right, fine. So, hi everybody. I noticed a couple of people are not, they declined from unmuting their mics. So that's fine. But in the course of the conversation, please feel free to engage, drop a comment, drop a chat as you have your questions. Just try to drop it even as I share. Okay. All right. So today I'll be talking to you guys about tips and tricks to, and by the way, Tosi, thank you for that introduction. It's always very, very funny and awkward when you hear people describe you. I'm like, oh, okay, is that really
Tell
me?
me. Welcome.
Always very, very forward. Thank you for that.
You're
All right.
welcome.
So be talking to you guys briefly today on tips and tricks to excel in data analysis. Data analytics, AI, it's quite the buzzword people use around in today's age. Personally, I get to talk to a lot of people on a regular basis, and everybody's asking the question, how do I start a data career? I want to start a data career. It's come to stay, really, and it's something that helps us to see that data is quite a very, very important bedrock in the foundation of the world today generally. So there, I tell people that no matter what industry or sector that you're working in today, data analytics, AI, it's important in every single sector, regardless of what job role that you're in. If you, no matter what you tell me that you're into today as a starting professional, or as whether you are also experienced. If you give me 5 minutes, I'll probably tell you how data or analytics is relevant to that particular career path or sector industry. Even if you're in business for yourself, it plays a very, very huge role in everything that we do. So that's just to underscore that the importance of having this kind of conversations or being in those kind of communities can never be overemphasized. It's really, really, really important. And I just predict that in the next couple of years the importance will keep on growing. All right. So today I'll just talk to you about tips and tricks on how to excel in this field. And by way of agenda and outline, I'll do a short introduction, which I've already started anyway. I'll speak briefly on understanding data analysis, the data analytics process, okay, the efficient data collection, efficient use of analysis tools, communicating insights. Then a very, very interesting aspect which a lot of people don't like to talk about, some of the softer side of things, understanding your strengths and your interests. This is actually my own sweet spot, is where I always like to talk to people about. I tell people a lot that you can go out there and learn a lot of data analytics tools, learn about the technical skills, but how do you understand what aspect of the data profession you should go into? Should I be a data scientist? Should I be a data engineer? Should I just be a statistician? Or should I just be a business intelligence or just a data analyst? And there's some other areas. Should I even be a machine learning engineer, or should I even be a data governance specialist? How do you know which one you should actually go for? I'll talk briefly on that one when I talk about understanding your strengths and interests, and then I'll just give a couple of final advice at the end of the day. All right. So that's by way of what we'll quickly look at for the few minutes that we have together today. And by introduction, really, and I've started by speaking to this earlier around the importance of data analysis skills. It is so crucial today, really. I like to tell the story that close about or a little over 10 years ago, when I was in I was a product manager in one of the commercial banks in Nigeria. And then what I knew how to use then was Excel. Mark, this was over 10 years ago. And then there were a lot of decisions that we needed to make in the course of building products, in the course of deploying those products, that needed to be driven by data. Mark you, then I was not a data thought leader or professional or data expert, by the way. All I knew was that, okay, Excel was a tool that needed to be used for us to get the insights to drive our product business. And then back, that was 10, 12 years ago. But then we use data in some form. And it was so important back then. So if you underscore it with what we have today, where there is AI all over the place, there's machine learning, there is data, there are other sophisticated tools in addition to Excel that people are using to get insights. You can use data visualization to do so much in charts and graphs and images that show you where you need to go. So if you imagine if it was important about 12 years ago to me personally, how do you think is important to us today? Really, it's so crucial today. In our world is data driven in every sense of the word. All right, data plays a key role in a lot of organizations that make decisions. So if it is that important to us in the world today, so mastering the techniques, all right, it empowers us. It empowers everyone, whether you are just starting out fresh out of school, or you're a young professional, or you're experienced. I've spoken to people across all the entire landscape, from people that have been far experienced. Recently, I was coaching someone that he was in the oil and gas industry, an experienced professional. And I had like a 4-week session where I sat him down. We looked at how data could help him redefine his own role. So trust me, if you're able to master these techniques, especially if you're a young professional, you start to set yourself up for a lot of change, a lot of impact in your own world. All right, and the ability for us to uncover insights and drive decision making with data, it is a core skill that we need in today's world. All right, so to understand data analysis, really, let me start by just defining data analysis. And it's just, as you see on the screen there, it's just a systematic process of examining, transforming, interpreting data so that you can find out meaningful insights and patterns from it. Okay, and then there are a lot of key skills that you need to be effective here. First, you need to be a critical thinker. All right, and in addition to this, you need to be a very curious person. Again, I was talking to a forum, I think it was 2 weeks ago. It was in a particular training. I was facilitating a training session, and I was trying to I wrote on the flip chart in the class there that one core skill or one core characteristics that people needed in data was curiosity. All right, because curiosity, you know, is still tied within critical thinking and problem solving, because that need to be able to know and understand and appreciate what it needs to use data to solve problems. Really, it's a core skill that we need. All right, and then you have the statistical reasoning. Again, in that class, I told them, I was very clear that some of us that didn't like statistics in school, then if you are going to be a data professional, you really can't run away from it. All right, it could be from the simple things as mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and all those things. Trust me, in a data profession, one way or the other, you will get to use it. So these are really core skills that you need. They enable us as data professionals, whether we are analysts or scientists or engineers, to be able to extract insights from whatever data sets that we have. So these are really core skills that we all need to be effective. Okay, and then if you look at the common tools, I've mentioned Excel, which is not going anywhere. Okay, let me repeat for emphasis, Excel is not going anywhere. All right, if I was using Excel 12 years ago, trust me, you still need Excel today. All right, it's a cost tool, but then there are tools along databases, statistical software. They are widely used. All right, so a lot of those common tools and technologies would keep on changing. Today, people talk about Python, they talk about R, they talk about Power BI, they talk about Tableau, they talk about SQL, and the different variations of SQL is also there. The NoSQL, the Postgre, and I'm dropping some technical terms now, but don't be alarmed if it's not really in your alley. But then just know that there are tools needed for you to be able to apply these skills, to be able to solve problems using data. I'll repeat that again just for emphasis. There are tools that you need for you to be able to apply the skills to solve your problems using data in different sectors. All right, and me personally, I really don't like to talk tools first. I'll always like to talk about the process of data analytics and what you need to know, and then anybody can then learn the tool and you can get better in that particular tool. All right, so I really like us to pay attention to this particular slide. It is a very important slide, not just in this presentation, but then generally. All right, and it speaks to the data analysis process. Okay, analytics process, sorry. All right. For um at least in this context of this particular webinar by Jupiter Academy, I would have loved to actually talk about the difference between maybe analytics and analysis, but we might not have that particular time. But pay attention. All right. I'm giving you a couple of tips that you need to improve your data analysis, but there is an analytics process which is much more complex than data analysis. If you're asking yourself what's the difference between analytics with a C and analysis with an S, all right, the tools that you need for the analytics process is a bit more complex than analysis, even though they are used interchangeably as words. All right, but then in analytics generally, there are a lot of other modern tools and complex data stack that you need, but then the process is still a bit the same. Because really, you remember I talked about trying to solve a problem. All right, if you're trying to solve a business problem, you start up with a business question. Then you have to get the data. Then you have to probably do a bit of exploration and data cleaning. All right. And then you now get to the analysis part. Okay. And in the analysis part, you can use several tools. In the analysis part, you can end up using Microsoft Excel, you can end up using SQL, you can end up using Power BI, you can end up using Python, you can end up using R, you can end up using Tableau. But they all depend on the business question that you are trying to answer or the business problem that you're trying to solve. Okay, it's also important. And at the end of the day, you would also still need to present this particular output after analyzing the problem with the tool that you have used in the analysis part. That's where you get to data presentation. And for some of you that have been maybe students of data analytics generally, you would have heard people talk about presentation, report writing, storytelling. That is really another different topic for another day when you talk about how to effectually communicate. And I'll talk very briefly in this presentation about how to just communicate, but that cannot and by no means won't be as exhaustive as when you really talk about how to really present the output of analytics, really. But then generally in the analytics process, you start from a business question to the getting the data, which speaks to data collection. And you see there that data collection will talk about how you gather relevant and reliable data. Because really, if you don't have the data, if you don't collect the data, there's really no analysis that you need to do. Let's say, for instance, now you have a business problem that needs you to predict maybe the likelihood of a customer doing repeated business with maybe a supermarket, for example. But if you don't collect the data of maybe the historical purchases of those customers, there's really no analysis you are going to do. Whether you're going to use Excel, whether you're going to use Python, the collection is very, very important and is very, very foundational. And then you talk about cleaning and preparation because the data has to be fit for purpose. So you really need to be aware of how to clean your data and then using the different techniques, whether there's statistical methods, whether it's visualization tools and the likes, to now try to see patterns and trends and then whatever relationships exist with or within your data. So really, this is an important thing. If you're listening to me, I'll just advise, just take a screenshot of this particular slide. Take a screenshot and then just file that in your own archive of the data analytics process, because it's something that would always prove useful on a regular basis. All right. Okay. So going on. So I'll talk a bit more about data collection. All right. Okay. So in terms of efficient data collection, all right, you need to be able to, first of all, identify reliable data sources. Okay, to be able to be effective in your analysis process, you need to be sure of your data sources, except you're doing probably a how I call it, an academic exercise where you're just trying to research and learn. Today, the likes of ChatGPT and all those conversational chatbot agents and the large language models, whether it's Google Gemini or Microsoft Copilot, you can actually generate dummy data sets. And there are some other websites that you can use to actually generate dummy data sets. But then if you're actually working on a real life problem, you need to ensure that your data source is reliable. If some of you that are listening to me today, let's say you're already working and you started working in a particular organization, and you want to actually try your hands on the data set that exists in your organization, you need to ensure that those sources are credible within your organization, because you need to ensure it's accurate. I need to ensure that it's also relevant to ensure that the insight that you end up deriving are actually good enough for you. Okay. Then also, again, you can use additional techniques like data scraping, all right, where you actually scrape data from other sources. Today, people can scrape data from websites. In Nigeria today, there are sources such as the central bank, cbn.gov.org. There are sites like the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics that actually gives you data that you can actually scrape from. And then there are tools within some data analytics software that you can use to actually grab data from all those sources for your analysis purposes. And then also, you can also utilize APIs that can give a standardized way to access or integrate data. All right, APIs will just be connections that are available on some of all these sources to ensure that you have effective data collection. All right. So moving on, you also need to know how to use tools effectively. All right. One of the things I like to talk to people about is that don't just be over the place and try to learn all the tools. All right. I've met people that would say that they want to start a career in analytics, and then they say, okay, I've learned Python, I've learned SQL, I've learned this, and then they end up being confused. And I'll talk about that when I talk about understanding your strength and interest, because when you understand yourself, it's easier for you now to know which tool you need to learn. All right. For some of us now, we are not artistically inclined, meaning that creating visualizations is not our regular forte. And some of us, if we are much more inclined to the mathematics of things, it might be easier for you to go to statistical tools than even visualization tools. All right. But then in terms of tools, Excel is always powerful. You can always leverage on that. But then it's important that you ensure that you do the ones that comes to you naturally. All right. And then I've spoken about Python. Python has extensive libraries. As some of us are used to the NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, which is a visualization library within Python. But then it's important that as you're about to leverage this tool, are you comfortable with it? Do you have a background in programming, for example, in software development? You need to be able to understand that aspect of yourself. And I spoke about R as well. R is also good for statistical analysis, and then it's robust because it helps you to really do like core data science work, whereas Python does a bit of both. Python will do both data science and a bit of additional software programming with it. Okay, but then you need to be able to understand how to use a lot of all these tools effectively, and then use the ones that you're most comfortable with, really. Don't say because everybody wants to use Python, then I must use Python. I've seen people that have done solid projects with just Excel, and I've seen people that have just used they are naturally inclined with tools such as Power BI and visualization tools, and they stuck with it, and they've built a solid career out of that. So use what works for you. All right. So moving on to communicating the insights. If you recall, when I showed you the data analytics process, there's a part about presentation. Okay. And this means that you can do all the analysis, you can do all the insights, you can write all the codes you want to write in Python, SQL, in R, do all the visualization. You need to be able to communicate these insights effectively. Okay, communicating the insights from your analysis has to be clear, has to be concise, and it has to be compelling. Because at the end of the day, we don't do data for the sake of doing data. We don't do analysis or analytics for the sake of just doing it. It needs to impact a decision to be made by the business. I'll give you a simple example. In Nigeria, in 2023, when the current government came in, fuel price subsidy was removed, and then a lot of us had to adjust our lifestyles to suit what our income was, meaning that without even using analysis tools, we looked at the data of our income, and then we adjusted it with the reality of the fuel price hike, and we changed our buying patterns. It was very, very simple. So the same way, data influences a decision. And when you run your analysis, you need to be able to communicate these insights effectively, because it needs to help the business to make a decision. Okay, and then there are different techniques for presenting your findings. All right, and this is just to give you a couple of tips. All right, you can I hope this stirs up a bit of curiosity for you to look for ways to go and learn more across other platforms. All right, because there are um, techniques for executive summaries, storytelling. I mentioned that earlier, data narratives, and then targeting your recommendations that can tailor the communication style to your audience and ensure that your insights are clearly understood and they are actionable. Meaning that those that listen to it, those that read it, those that see it are able to take an action. Okay. And then lastly, an audience centric approach, meaning that before you communicate your insights, you need to think about your audience. Are they senior people? Are they contemporaries? Are they students? Are they even peers? You need to understand your audience before you actually select whatever approach you want to use in communicating your insights, because this maximizes the impact of your insights. Because you don't want to do a lot of work, spend a lot of hours writing codes in Python or in R or in SQL, spend a lot of hours in creating Power BI dashboards or Tableau dashboards and visualizations. And then you push it to the people that you need to take an action and they do nothing. You really don't want that. So you need to be able to understand that, understanding your audience, and then knowing how to communicate insights across some of all the points that I've made is important for you to succeed in a data career. All right. Lastly, I spoke about this. I said um, all the technical bits around what data analytics is, the tools, being able to collect data, everything is good and fine. But then you need to understand your strengths and your interests. Okay. And this is something that is so, so dear to me. In fact, I created an online course early this year, which is titled Finding Your Data Analytics Pathway, a Guide to Landing Your First Job. And one of the modules in that course speaks to the fact that you need to understand your strength and your interest. And it's pretty simple. I will try to explain with my own example. I've been in data analytics as a career path for about 7 years now. And then when I started out, I realized that, when Tosin was reading my profile, she mentioned that, oh, I have an engineering degree. So for me, the technical bit of the work wasn't really a challenge for me. Okay. I had a bit of programming experience in my background. But then prior to doing data, I was not even doing so much programming because, like I told you guys, I was a product manager in the organization I work with then yet. But then I came to realization that for me, I naturally excel in being a leader and being a leader in my field. So I told myself that, oh, my strength is in leadership. I would rather be a leader of a data team. And by just understanding that aspect about me, I was able to pattern everything in my career path along the line of leading a data team. And today, I lead a data team. All right. So you need to really understand your strengths, your interests, and then you align it with your own role, because so that your competencies, your strengths, okay, if you're inclined to programming, you're inclined to writing code, writing software, it's easy to align it with some parts in the data space than if you are not. Because trust me, there are careers for everyone. Um, Currently, I have a lawyer. Okay. And in case you were trying to be sure that, wow, did I say correctly? I have a lawyer on my team. You might be wondering, how does a lawyer fit into a career in data? There's a career path for data governance. Data governance is a career path that a lot of lawyers are finding today. A lot of them will go to law school, and at the end of the day, they don't end up even going to court or writing briefs or pleading their case within a court. They have found a career path that syncs with their interest as a lawyer. All right. So that is one of the things that means you can't be able to align your strength and interest with your own competencies. And it's also important that you now evaluate yourself and discover which data roles truly resonate with who you truly are. All right. Like I said, I have an online course dedicated to actually expanding this in much more detail. So my final advice to everyone listening to me really is, um, Embrace a growth mindset. Okay, I talked about curiosity earlier on. Curiosity is so important. You need to develop a growth mindset. It's crucial in success for data analysis. Really, you cannot stop by what you know today. You need to keep asking yourself, how do I need to get better? The field is really evolving. 2 years ago, we didn't have ChatGPT, we didn't have Google Gemini, we didn't have Copilot, we didn't have a lot of the AI tools that we have. But technology in the data space has evolved so rapidly and a lot has changed. And trust me, in the next couple of years, it will still change. Okay. And again, I would like to also admonish that you practice and apply the techniques. Okay. Don't just learn the tool for the sake of learning. When you understand your strengths and your own interest, and you have one that is clearly aligned to you, practice it so that you don't forget. Okay. And then also seek opportunities for continuous learning. You need to engage with courses, online courses, follow the right people on LinkedIn, listen to their, subscribe to their newsletters. I write a newsletter, by the way. Feel free to look it up. It's called the Data Mind. All right, I've been writing it. So look for newsletters that will allow you to continue to learn and expand your knowledge in the data space. Look for professional communities. You're a part of Jupiter Academy, that's a good start. But in addition, look for other professional communities that would help you to keep up to date. I personally like to subscribe to a lot of newsletters that just keeps me informed of what is going on. And you'll be surprised that if you can grow to the point where when you sit side by side with probably somebody in a different climate, let's say the person is in America, or let's say is in Japan, you'll be surprised that there's really no gap in what they know and what you know, because you've made it your own duty to stay informed with the latest trend. And take it from me, I've had the privilege of interacting with data professionals from multiple countries. And sometimes when we talk, and I realize that, oh, okay, there's really no difference between you and me. I'm actually know this stuff. All right. So you can actually get to that particular point, but it has to be very intentional for you to be able to seek opportunities and seek continuous learning. All right. So that's it from me, everyone. Thank you for listening. I'm sure there'll be a couple of questions or feedback, and feel free to follow me on all social media. Like Tosin said in the intro, I run an organization called the Data Mind Mindset as well. We're all up on social media. You can follow me on my social media channel as well. I have a couple of videos on YouTube via the Data Mind Mindset as well. Feel free to watch it to what do they say in social media terms? Like, follow, and subscribe. Yes, I got it. Like, follow, and subscribe so that you can stay abreast. Okay, a couple of interesting videos that I released this year. One that is actually very interesting is, do I really need a master's degree in data science? That one is an interesting one. And like I said, I have newsletters as well across several topics in the data and AI space that I believe will be of benefit to you. All right. So feel free. I'll drop all these links in the chat so that they'll be clickable for you to be able to reach out. So let me stop there now and hand over to Tosin. If there are any comments, questions, or feedback.
Thank you very much, Olamide. Please, can we send in those clap emojis?